if you need to say anything, doesn't that, I feel like that makes my point for me. I can just end the video here, right? You all understand? You don't understand? That doesn't convey anything at all? Okay. In Celeste, as you're traveling, actually, I don't think Celeste is right. In Hollow Knight, maybe, In Glover, you play as the Glover Man. No, not Glover Man. This isn't right. This isn't right at all. I need to get real. Mario games have always been innovative, each one in their own way. The original is no exception. In fact, it was such a trailblazer that it's paraded as the foundation of modern game design philosophy. But it isn't. Donkey Kong is. I can buy that Mario is the father of all games, but Donkey Kong is the father to Mario, so Donkey Kong is clearly a much grander form of father. If only there was a word for that. Arcade games are infamous for being unfair garbage, intentionally designed to be obtuse and confusing. Just look at, how are you supposed to play this? Rather than trying to be fun, they try to kill you as fast as possible so they can steal all your money. One day, Miyamoto heard about this, and he said, nah. Donkey Kong boldly contradicts the harsh arcade philosophy. The challenges it presents are clear and direct. It's unambiguous who you are, what your goal is, what obstacles stand in the way of that goal, and how you are able to overcome them. It's one of, if not the first game to understand that a fair challenge is more interesting than random bullshit. What the fuck do you do? Donkey Kong also stands out as the smoothest game of its time, controls-wise. It's not that the tools you're given are any less clunky than other games. Like, this jump is disgusting. It's like, ugh. It's stiff and slow, and it gives you no height, and it has an awkward pause after you land, and you have no control over the height or the distance, and it makes a funny noise. These limitations make Donkey Kong clunky, but, you know, all old games were clunky. Back then, they just didn't have the technology to make polished mechanics, so all games end up rather crude in how they control. But Donkey Kong has a secret trick. It hides how bad its controls are with thoughtful enemy design. The jump doesn't send you all that high, so the game says, no problem, you never have to go high anyway. You have no control over the jump, so the game says, no biggie, let's just not make the player do any complex maneuvers. No control needed. The jump gives you an awkward pause after you land, so the game says, hey, that's fine. We'll just space out the barrels, so this pause will never kill you. These obstacles consider the game's flaws in their design. They're sympathetic to the player, which is why Donkey Kong ends up with much more fluid controls than any game for years to come. This only works because the entire game is designed around the jump. If you placed it in any other context, it would be awful and frustrating. Fortunately, you don't. It's just so fortunate that there are no games that play stiff jumps in a more varied context. And it's even more fortunate that none of these non-games have an obnoxious focus on difficulty, which combines with the limited mechanics to create an awful experience. Fortunately, this just never happens. Oh hi, Ghosts and Ghouls, how convenient. This game is bad. This game is disgusting. Ugh. Where Donkey Kong designs its enemies to conceal how clunky it is, Ghosts and Goblins goes out of its way to highlight how archaic its controls are. Why does it do this? I don't know. I have no idea. This jump is very similar to Donkey Kong's, where it just plays out a pre-planned arc. It's much slower also, but you do get two of them, so in theory, the player has more control. In theory, at least. In practice, this isn't how it plays out. For some reason, everything that you need to jump over requires both jumps. Every wall or platform or pit, even the most pitiful enemy, requires sacrificing all of your aerial control to surpass, which usually just leads to... So, the jump is just as clunky as Donkey Kong's. Obviously, it would be really annoying if the game had complex obstacles that required fine control. You can all see how that would be stupid, right? Well, that's exactly what they do. Moving platforms, swinging axes, rising and falling waves, what even is this? It's like if someone told you to cut an onion, then gave you a chainsaw, and then fired you for making a mess. Like, what? What did you think would happen? Come on! The task and tools are just not fit for each other, which leaves the player in for a very bumpy ride. The lesson here is simple. You have to design your enemies with the player's controls in mind. If you don't, I'll make fun of you. You're stinky. Now, we think of Donkey Kong as an ambitious game, and it was. It had 4 whole levels. Even Pac-Man just had 1 repeating screen, and that's Pac-Man. Mario would follow too, in the ambition of its father, with 32 levels. Whoa! Even by today's standards, that's a lot. Like, seriously, name one game with 32 levels. Uncharted 4 only has 22 levels. I'm just so sorry, Donkey. Uncharted 4 sucks ass. The Donkey Kong jump does a good job for the 4 levels you use it for, but it's too simple to sustain as much as 32. You have to put so much effort into designing around its flaws that it leaves next to no room for creativity, making it unsuitable for such a high quantity of stages. If you want to be able to make that many levels meaningfully distinct, then you need to give the player more tools to play with. But this presents a simple logistical problem. How do you possibly add numerous ways of interacting with the world onto just 2 buttons? Nah, I'm just kidding. There's an easy solution. You just have to casually invent mechanical depth. And mechanical synergy. And mechanical expression also. Very, super easy, yeah. Donkey Kong and Mario both only have a single button to jump with, but Mario can still produce many different results with just this one button. A short tap results in a little hop, while a long press goes into a massive leap. Furthermore, after leaving the ground, you can steer while in the air to choose where you land, and running alters the height and trajectory of your jump, giving you more distance, but also taking away some control. This new level of flexibility not only validates more complex obstacles, but it opens up communication between the player and the game. For the first time, you go beyond simply choosing what to do, because now you can decide how you want to do it. You could play the game slow and steady, always jumping to the full height to have the most accuracy, never running so as to be as careful as possible. Or you could play like a madman, never jumping higher than you need to, always going full throttle, taking risks, determined not to waste a second more than you have to. Through playing the game, you're also expressing who you are, leaving behind a trace of your personality and values in how you choose to use the tools. It might seem banal by our modern standards, but Mario is what created this standard to begin with, and this is why Mario is a masterpiece. These expressive jumps are so simple, so easy to add, and yet so impactful that it's no wonder they are present in every single platformer since. I mean, that's what you'd assume. What's really embarrassing is a game like Super Ghosts and Ghouls came out 6 years after Mario. 6 whole ass years. Mario was right there for them to learn from, and they said, I think I will choose the stupid clunky jump. Thankfully, more recent platformers are definitely much wiser with their jumps. Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Celeste Knight, Rose Card is the Knight. All of these games have nice and expressive jumps that you can really dig into, you know? Not blasphemous, though. It really, really annoys me when modern games still make these basic mistakes. Mario has been out for nearly 40 years now. That's older than me. That's older than most of you. So why are people still giving their games the clunky ass mono jumps? Now, to be fair, it doesn't ruin Blasphemous or anything, but it just makes the gameplay experience far more vapid than it has to be. Like, why would you intentionally make your game less expressive? I just don't understand. And if we look at the Blasphemous 2 trailer, it seems like they still have mono jumps. I'm not 100% sure. It sure looks like they jump the same height each time, and these platforms are all the same height, same distance apart, which is how you would design obstacles for a fixed jump height. So annoying. Fix your game, Spain. Spain only got one game, you let it be like this? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on.